What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to go over some tips that I have for winning 3v3 matches in Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. So I'm going to kind of do is give generalized ideas, whether it's positional, whether it's, what you're supposed to be doing at any given moment. I'm going to kind of walk you guys through a basic match of 3v3, and feel free, in the comments, if you guys have been, on a winning streak of your own, let me know, let the audience know, right? What are some ways that you guys are finding success in this game? How are you winning? I'm going to kind of walk you through what me and my dream team, go through on a case-by-case basis. So, okay, the number one thing I would say is I want to start with kind of the positions and when to use each position, and then we'll kind of go over more specifically like what to do as each position. So, obviously, you got the three choices, right? You're going to want to pick the one that you're the best at, yada, yada, yada. I don't think that's shocking to anybody. Okay. What I generally find is to use specific roles at specific times. So I would say to start the game, the keeper chaser role should be chaser, okay? The chaser beater role should probably be beater. We'll talk about that in a second. And then obviously you have to be the chaser until the snitch appears, and then you can be seeker, right? So you probably want, at least in the beginning, you want a good 2 chasers, okay? Now in terms of when to switch and when not to switch, I gotta be real. From our success, and again, this is only going based off like what we have found to work, right? You can have your own stories in the comments. I do find that having a person designated as the beater at all times is the best idea. I think if you're going 3 chasers and then even, if they switch to a keeper and to eventually a seeker, I do think it's wise to have that beater going nonstop. Because let's get into that just really quickly in terms of like the actual position. The beater I feel is kind of underrated. Like, this is the character or the position that really just gets in people's faces, throws them off, gets them off their game, and you can use it in a variety of ways, right? Now, I don't have any beater footage for you because we have a designated beater that's a freaking all-star on our team. I'm not going to take any credit away from him. He does his job, and he does it nearly perfectly, if not perfectly, every single time. Best thing to do with the beater, I would say generally, is number one, keeping the opposing beater off of your chasers. Normally, especially the AI beaters, will only go at chasers when they're getting close to scoring, right? If they have the ball and they're kind of in your side of the field, your AI will attack them, right? But generally, if they're human beaters, right, like what should they do? Well, going after chasers is a wise move, but what we normally do as the beater is kind of go after, I would say, 2 key positions. Number one, sometimes the keeper, and this is if you're facing like an all-star keeper, right? If you're facing somebody that just, you absolutely cannot score on, it is an okay strategy to get your beater to go after them, just to throw them off, just to kind of distract them, allowing you more time to score a goal, okay? That's one. Number 2 is definitely the seeker. So when that seeker position opens up, number 1, you want that person that's the seeker chaser to always turn into the seeker. What we tend to do is if we're in the middle of a play, if we're about to score, we'll let our seeker, score or pass or whatever, and then he can switch. We have found success even if the opposing team has a head start. And why is that? Well, it's when our chaser turns into a seeker that it's almost like a tag team. Both the seeker and the beater heavily go after the opposing team's seeker, okay? That, to me, is the best way of guaranteeing that you can get the snitch. And that's what it's kind of all about, right? The snitch isn't like a do or die thing, but it can be. It's not every time, but oftentimes, like that 30 points, especially because you're going to catch the snitch probably 2 times, no less than 1. You're definitely going to catch it 1 time in a match, right? You might catch it a second time, you might not. That's 30 to 60 points that can get moved from one team to the next, right? So you do want to slow the opposing team down. You might only need to slow them down enough to score a couple goals, right? If you're within 10 or 20, you score 2 goals, the game is over. You don't need your seeker to catch the snitch in the first place, right? So that's just something to kind of keep in mind, right? In terms of the positions, always having your beater just being the beater and having them basically going after the opposing team's beater so they're not messing with with you, as well as going after the seeker as much as possible when they become the seeker. In the meantime, if they're bored, they can go after chasers. They can go after the keeper, right? Like I said, honestly, like going after the keeper is not something that we have done all that much. Like we'll do it kind of for fun here and there, but ultimately, like we're good enough scorers that we don't really need help. But that's kind of like that's a personal thing, right? That's a personal problem almost. If you are finding success in scoring, you don't need to worry about the keeper. If you're if you're having trouble scoring, you might want to try to take out the keeper to get maybe 2 goals max, right? When a keeper is knocked out, you don't have too much time. You can probably get 1, maybe 2 goals on an empty net type situation, right? And that's the best you're going to get. Okay, let me knock out the keeper position real fast, and then we'll get into the chasers, and then we'll wrap this video up. In terms of the keeper, what I have found, and this is as somebody who has played keeper, let's just say for a while, and let's say that I used to be, and I still consider myself a pretty good keeper, but I do think the keeper position has become harder and harder, and I think I've kind of settled into a groove where it's like, you're not going to save everything, okay? You're just absolutely not. So my advice for the keepers would be this. You're going to need to make maybe 2 to 4 big saves a game. And I would hope that you're able to do it, right? Now, that's not necessarily like tips and tricks. I mean, honestly, what I find success with the keeper is trying to mix in a little bit of being aggressive with pulling back. Sometimes the enemy player will not do well with you getting into their face. So if they're approaching you and they're not deke heavy, they're not deking you too much, sometimes coming out entirely and kicking them will be the best strategy because they're not going to see it coming. Sometimes, obviously, sometimes they will see it coming. Sometimes you're able to kick the ball and they won't even see it coming and it'll be, out of your end. Other times, if you're too aggressive, they can either pass or they could, just do a quick little shot or deke you or whatever and score. I mean, my best tips for the keeper is to try to just read the individual player each time. The AI is pretty bad with scoring. You should be able to read where the ball is going to come from the AI. An individual person normally does like a deke at the last second. They'll drift the opposite way and shoot the other, right? Just kind of things like that where basically the hoop that you think they're shooting it through most likely isn't the right one. But as I've said, the keeper position's gotten harder. The area to catch the ball is so small. And I've gotten video footage. I felt that I have been there before, like in front of the hoop, ready to catch the ball, and the ball will go right through me. I have that captured. I've played multiple matches where that's happened once or twice. I just feel like that's what this game is now, is they've purposely nuked the keeper to just get more goals going, right? So there's not too much you can say other than you might be required, again, as I talked about with the snitch, right? It can be 30 to 60 points a game. The keeper only needs to make, like sometimes for our matches, I need to make like 2 or 3 saves. If I'm not making those 2 or 3 saves, we might lose. But if I can make it, we stand a really good chance of winning, and you're just going to have to kind of figure out how the chaser is attacking you. And then to kind of end it as the chaser, well, again, it's kind of the reverse of the keeper. It's pretty easy, or it's easier, to score goals in this game now more than ever, right? And as I said earlier, like the best way to do it, quick passing, deking at the last second, I guess being able to read, like let's do literally the reverse of the keeper, right? If you notice the keeper is coming out really quickly and coming out aggressively, you do just a quick little dodge, you pass it last second, you do something last second to throw them off, right? But other than that, I would say the other part to the chaser that I do think is important and something that I have found to be successful the more that I'm playing it is to almost leave one in the background. So, if you have 2 human chasers and the third is AI, what I will normally do is be more of like the defensive player, at least sometimes, like towards the end of the game, and I'll almost pull back because the tackling is huge. Like, again, oftentimes the keeper can't save that ball, so what you have to do is you have to actually use your chasers to help you. Now you have the rings that you can gain the extra boost from, right? But I would say just kind of being close to different zones in this game is the best strategy. So, if you have a very offensive heavy chaser, they're going to be in the offensive end, they're going to be scoring, they're going to be deking, all that stuff. Again, oftentimes the humans will be aggressive and then the AI will kind of be aggressive. They're not playing very defensively. So I find when we're trying to protect the lead, when we're winning by 10, but like it's really close, I'll kind of pull back and almost try to cut the chasers off, the opposing chasers. I'll try to cut them off and tackle them before they get in. And I've found great success with that, along with my partner, the people I play with on my team. Like, if you're smart, if you're good at kind of like holding on to boosts in this game, and you play a little bit more defensive than you think, at least at certain times. Sometimes you have to be aggressive, but sometimes you don't have to. And if you're doing that right, you should be able to get a couple tackles a game. You should be able to save a goal because you tackled somebody and took the ball from them versus the keeper having to make a save. That, I feel like, is when you're in a groove, right? The entire team. When the keeper, they might have to make 1 or 2 or 3 saves, but normally the chasers can kind of deal with it before it even gets that far. That's when I kind of think you're both, the keeper and the chaser, is doing the best that they can do. But like I said, ultimately with the seeker as well, you're only looking for maybe, 4 goals to maybe 6 max. Like, that's kind of the range. You're not going to score. I mean, you can, but you're not normally going to score 8, 9, 10 goals a match. You're normally going to score somewhere. Your team is going to score somewhere in that 4, 5, 6 range, and then the snitch is going to kind of do the rest of it. Obviously, passing is very important. Don't be a ball hog unless you're very good at dodging. Like, the team that I have, we're extremely good, I think, of kind of reading the play, kind of going for breakaway passes. We do that kind of often, where somebody will kind of just go forward. If you can spot them, if you can get the ball to them, they're completely in the clear. Again, using rings, but sometimes the keeper as the bot is about as terrible as it comes with placing rings, so you don't really always get the boost from the keeper anymore. But on the reverse side, if you're having trouble kind of getting into the opposing team's zone because they are being defensive, that is where passing is going to come in handy. So what I tend to do is I don't focus on the ball, like literally pressing the button to focus. I'll just kind of go wild. I'll look for kind of areas where the other team isn't. So like corners, corner of the right, corner of the left, and I'll kind of just like shout it out like, hey, I'm available if you need me. And passing, whether it's a shovel pass or just an outright pass, that can really come in handy, especially if the other team is looking to cut you off. The only thing you can do is either a really well-placed dodge, which doesn't always work, or passing it right to kind of like spread everybody out. That would be the way I would say to get into the opposing team's zone. So that's kind of my general thing. We didn't go into any huge specifics of any positions, but that's my best way, I would say, of kind of team arrangement, different strategies of different positions. That's what I would say in terms of winning matches. And hey, if you don't believe me, I haven't looked at the win rate in the game is actually broken. I think I've recorded around 20 matches, and I think we lost 2. So we have around like a 90% success win rate when we're playing as a team, my team. And so I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good about what I'm telling you guys. But you let me know. You let me know your own strategies in the comments and help each other out. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.